Howdy homies, James Finnerty here with Rewind Electric with my robot, my Topo Chico, and my iced desert coffee. Although it is starting to cool off here a bit in the desert, it's not so cool today. But this iced coffee is nice and cold. So, I got two packages here that are nothing terribly exciting, although I think some of you will be really interested in one of them. It's a new product that I'm interested to check out. There's been a lot of buzz about. And then the other one is an old product from an old friend that I'm actually more excited about. So I think that's this one. Let's see what we got here. Yeah. Packing peanuts. I hate them. And I think I'm in for more of them. I think that is the tip of the packing peanut iceberg. These, ladies and gentlemen, if there's any ladies watching, otherwise, gentlemen and gentlemen, are Uncle Lou's buttons. These are new old stock Uncle Lou's, which are not something that is often found. They look really good. They sound nice. They're not that kind of gummy soft PVC or acrylic or whatever that you often get. Mojo inside indeed. Doesn't say where they're from, but these are from my friend Scott at BMF Effects. Now, I've not in... Okay, so the first time I bought a set of Uncle Lou's was 15 years or so ago, and at that point, I'm pretty sure... something on the lens there. They were not being made anymore. I think that was already done. Now you could get them new old stock. You could still buy them from dealers at that point. But that's how long ago they stopped doing it. So to find a new old stock set today is pretty rare. So the very moment I saw these on Reverb, I clicked buy like as fast as I could. Then I got a text from Scott that was like, hey man, you can just, I can put those on your tab and send them to you if you want them. I didn't realize they were his. So I was like, yes, definitely. I've got a 345 of his to do some work on. I don't even remember what, to be honest, something with the Veritone. Kind of chokes. I think it's like a choke under a pickup. Maybe it needs some routing or something. I remember thinking it was a lot of work, so I'm hoping to get to that end of the summer. Okay, this is the package that you guys are probably more interested in. Not so much for this. These are, I think, Kluson Supremes. Yeah, these are Supremes. They have nothing to do with the Lou's. Well, they might, actually. What I did before with the previous set, which is put away, I'm not going to pull them out now, but I showed them on another video. In fact, here's the remnants, the guts of what's left. I took a set of Kluson Deluxes that have the single line Kluson Deluxe stamping down the back, but the not so nice gearing, and the Kluson Supremes, which have the Kluson Supreme double line text on the back, not a vintage accurate feature, and but they have nicer gearing inside, and I took them apart and I built them into one set, and then I custom aged some tips. I'm going to do that again, and maybe I will put those Uncle Lou's on there actually. So this is a package from WD. Wait, there's more. Oh yeah, there's some more of the Supremes. Now I don't usually work with the Supremes, so I just bought them from WD to try out. And it was really hard to swap the gearing on those packing peanuts. Let me tell you, I hate them. Okay. They're going to pour it on the floor. I'll dump them out right now. Okay. Let's just crack these all open. Centralab. Wow, real Centralab pots? They reissued them? Okay, let's... Everybody cool your jets. They're alphas. WD owns the name Centralab. These are not, you know, made in Chicago or wherever the originals were either. These are offshore alpha pods with some custom features spec'd. Now, there's a problem of there's really not a lot of good modern made pots for guitars to choose from today. So we kind of work with what we can get. Manufacturers are not interested in making something like that. Well, can't Gibson, with their millions of dollars, have real Centralab pots made in the US? No, they can't. It costs more than that. It costs more than they're willing to spend on it. Not because they're cheap, but because that's extremely expensive. And as far as I know, I have to think it through a little bit, but I don't think there are any U.S. manufacturers of pots. So what is it, like start up an operation, start Gibson potentiometers? They're not going to do that. Westinghouse did not make tubes for Fender during the tube crisis. Think that one through. There's no money in that. Fender would buy more tubes than anybody else. It's not going to happen. Okay. Those are Bourns pots. These are other alpha pots, I think. We're going to find out. Yes. And then I also have these other alpha pots that I showed in the last video, which are, these are 1 megs. And they have the aluminum shaft and bushing, but they're solid shaft. I just noticed something pretty cool that could come in quite handy here. So what I'm kind of hoping to do, I'll tell you my plan here. I bought a handful of each of these. I'm kind of hoping to take apart some of these pots and Frankenstein something together that has a high reading, a great taper, a loose feel. Yeah, that's it. And something reliable. So I don't have too high of hopes for those Bourns, but the Bourns are nice and loose feeling. Now I have some other Bourns. I don't quite remember why I bought these. Oh, maybe these are 1 megs. I better turn on my meter. I think we'll need that. No, 500K audio. All right, well, I'm not actually sure why I bought these. Maybe I was thinking I could use the shafts from these or something. I mean, they're cheap. They're like a couple bucks each. Now this says B500K. It says audio on it. In fact, it says Pro Audio. Tip of the day. Whenever something says Pro, it's not. Yeah. This is nice and loose. They have a great feel to them. It's too bad all the other pots don't feel like that. All right, we're going to just set those guys aside for now. Let's open up a couple of these Centralabs. So these are spec'd at 500K. 550K. Audio. Let's see what they actually read. Now, one thing that's kind of handy, because these are alphas, the Centralab pots are alphas, and so are these 1 meg alphas that I hold in my hand. These are 550K. I don't know what the tolerance is. I think it's 9%. So they're probably going to be between 500 and 550. Like, I doubt they'll be higher than that, honestly, but maybe. Well, I don't know. Who knows? We'll see. We're going to read them in just a minute. These are 1 meg pots with a tolerance of 30%. So some of those were reading like 700, 800K. That's quite in range with some of the higher reading pots that I find in vintage guitars. So they're both alphas. I should be able to swap the wafers over. The construction looks the same. And get some nice high reading. Now, some of them are reading a meg and a quarter. You know, they go the other way too. Usually, I do find those. I do find Centralabs to read that high, but they're usually, like, you know, haven't been treated so well. And it's not that they're worn. Let me clarify something, because this is a falsehood going around. There is this, like, lie, basically repeated, that old Centralabs read high because they're worn. They're used so much. Let me show you something. These are new old stock. Will it focus? These are new old stock Centralab wafers that have never been used, that I've pulled out of pots. Guess what? They read high. It's not that they're worn. What likely, there's two factors at play. One, pots were 20% tolerance at best back then, often less. I don't remember the original tolerance of the pots that Gibson used, okay? They might have been 30, they might have been 40% tolerance. But also, they're carbon trace elements. And if you've ever worked on an old Fender amp, you'll notice two things about those carbon composition resistors, carbon composite. And that is that, one, they tend to read high. Now, they didn't at the time. There's a silver band on them that tells you they're 10%, or a gold one in the bias section that tells you they're 5%. Those Allen Bradleys were often military spec, not the ones used in the Fender amps, but I have new old stock Allen Bradleys with the additional yellow band that are military spec. There's absolutely no way that they were making those out of tolerance. They weren't selling 5% resistors, you know, when they actually were within a 40% tolerance range. They grow to become higher in resistance over time. And it's probably something to do with that resistive material, which is likely the same stuff that the Centralabs used on those wafers. Another thing you might notice about an old Fender amp, if you're working on them, is that they might crackle and hiss, and they haven't been on for a while. And that can, not always, it can be attributed to those carbon comp resistors having absorbed some moisture. And as they heat up, that moisture finds its way out, and lessens at least, and in other parts of the amp too. And the crackling and the hissing is reduced. So perhaps it is that those carbon trace elements absorb some moisture over time and have grown to read high. Because they read high even when they're new old stock out of a sealed package that's in a pot that's never been used. It's not from wearing them down. I've pulled pots out of guitars that were so worn down that they were actually crackling because they were failing. They didn't read 1.5 meg. They were still, some of them do, but some of them don't. So that's not why. These are a little stiffer than I would have liked to have found. Yesterday, we took some of this stuff here. This is just contact cleaner. Actually, we use deoxit, which is probably safer for the pots. It's a little more gentle. And we blew all the grease out of one of these. Made it nice and loose. We'll try doing the same with these. But before I do that, I'm going to take some readings on these, and I'll just read them to you. These are new pots. I don't know if anybody's got them yet. Let's see what we can find out here. I'll just read these to you as I meter them. Maybe I will focus on the table so it's not always blurry. Okay. $554.87. $571.39. Oh, we're off to a good start, aren't we? $565.57. $565.4. It's probably about 70 degrees in here. Maybe something like 69 degrees. 543.9. 557.05. 576.77. And lastly, this one's got some bent legs. Short little legs. 582.22. Okay. So we've got some. Yeah, 582. And what was this one again? This one was nice and high, wasn't it? 571.5. Wow. So yeah, there's some nice high reading pots there. And they're not as loose feeling as the Bourns, but we'll blow out some of that gunk and see how loose we can get them. And then, friends, if I want to be really nerdy, if I remember right, I thought in the photo of these the shaft was brass and the bushing, but it turns out the shaft is aluminum and the bushing is brass. So, oh, these are too short. Dang, I thought I was thinking I could swap the shaft over from these solid the bushing from these solid shaft pots, but it's shorter. These are the Telly style knobs pots. That's a bummer. And then same with the other, I have these other ones here, which are, what are they? Oh, these are also 1 meg alphas. But they have a brass shaft and a split knurled, or brass bushing and a split knurled shaft. So they're the same configuration as these, but these are the 1 meg version. Do you want to know what should we read the 1 meg ones? I know it's dumb, but I actually don't like that they say Centralab on the back. It's just kind of obnoxious. The original didn't do that. Can you see that? Centralab. I mean, they might as well just say alpha. It's what they are. Look. On the other way. Let's see. It's the same thing. Okay, let's read these 1 megs. I've only got 4 of them. I wasn't really able to find alpha pots online that had split shaft aluminum bushings and shafts that were standard. I was only finding the metric size of those. All right, here's the 4 1 megs I've got. Let's just read them and see what they say. I don't know what the tolerance on these is. 0.930. 1.009. 1.0113. 0.9987. So these are actually all very close to 1 meg, unlike these guys, which came from maybe CE distribution. It's probably about those. That would be amplified parts. Sorry. And while we're here, let's read these Bourns pots too. Not going to worry about threading the nuts and washers on. I will not torture you with that. I will just torture you with the rest of this channel. Please don't forget to dislike and unsubscribe. Okay. 445. 503.7. 491.85. 463.8. So they're all kind of on the low side. Not terrible, but kind of low. Now I have somewhere. I thought. Oh, maybe I don't. Let me look one more place. Oh, yes, okay. Here's some other Bourns pots. And these came from, I don't know. There's a part. That's what I had in the bag, though. Some made in China's, as Bourns is. Now what's weird is I don't see it on these or these or these alphas, but on others I see them saying made in Korea now. So maybe some alpha pots are made in Korea. Okay. These are just some other Bourns pots. I just showed you the little tag. Let's see what they read. $496. Again, these are Bourns 500K audios. 505.14. I'm going to skip the decimal points. Who really cares? 507. I'm just going to round up or down, whether it's 5 or above. 537. 510. 510. 506. 512. Whoa. 472. 532. So they sound different. You hear that? This is the. I think these might have come from the Artitone. Came from eBay, I think. And then here, this is the WD. Well, I don't know what that means. The legs are bent a little bit differently. The printing is a little bit different. You know, the case backs are oriented with the stop in a slightly different place. So I don't know what all that means. But these tend to read a little bit higher. Now, again, this is from W's. There's a sample selection of 4. It doesn't really mean anything. I'm just telling you what the ones I have do. It doesn't mean that's what they all do. A sample selection of 4 is not indicative of much. Okay, so we already know we can blow out the grease on the alphas and make them twist a little bit better, like I did on that one. So I'll probably do that. I'm fairly happy with most of the Centralab readings. They're higher on average. They're, you know, 500 to 5. I don't remember what they were. They were reading higher on average. They were coming up like above 550 in some cases. Some almost 573, I think. That was the highest. That's nice. I wouldn't mind if they were 600 to 700. So I might take some of these 1 meg alpha wafers and use it. Well, this, I guess this is already configured for a Les Paul. Yeah, okay. I will play around with them a little bit, trying to come up with a modern 500K audio pot, again, that has a good taper, a loose feel, a nice longevity. Yeah. Was that it? It fits a Les Paul. All the stuff we want. If they had a carbon trace, that would be great. I don't know if these do or not. Should we pop one open and take a look at it? I don't know if I'll be able to tell you if it's carbon or not based on that. I want to find one that reads low in case I bork it. No, let's see. This one was 556. Can I find something lower than that? $543. It might be as low as they get. I'm going to meter these all again. I write the values on all my pots with a Sharpie, and then I sort them into bins so that I don't have to do this every time. Okay, let's pop this guy open. Did you think you were going to have such an exciting day today as watching me take apart some pots? Oh, cannot be as easily disassembled as the others. So it looks as if the shaft passes, you know, through the bushing, through the wafer, through this plastic deal, and then is splayed out. It's kind of, you know, like peened out. Is that the word? What's the word? I forget. But gosh, well, it is deformed so that it cannot be pulled back through. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4 traces for the main wafer and 2 for the common on the inside. I cannot tell you what that wafer material, the trace material is made out of. I'm afraid I don't know from looking at it. It might be carbon. I'd like to find out. How can I find out? Can somebody tell me if there's a way to find out if that's a carbon element or PVC or what? I mean, the ones that I know are PVC tend to be a little bit more glossy. And this one looks pretty dull and dry. So maybe it's not. Now, I'd like to find out how to degrease this even further. Yeah. I just drop that into some cleaner. I don't have a little tray in here. I'll have to get one. Okay. Yay, there we go, pots. You've seen it all. I don't know what else to say. Thanks. I guess I'll play with these some more and let you know my findings in a future video. Good night.